My son looked at me and said, "Dad, Mom calls someone else baby on the phone." She screamed at him to stop talking. I stood up, shaking, and roared, "Then let's hear the rest, right now." If you were in my shoes, how would you handle a moment like this? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and if stories like this resonate with you, a like and a subscribe would mean so much. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. My name is Daniel Hayes. I'm 38 years old, and I live in Phoenix, Arizona. By day, I'm a mechanical engineer. Blueprints, deadlines, endless problem solving. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills and gives my family stability. And for the longest time, I thought stability was exactly what we had. I met Sophia, my wife, 10 years ago at a friend's housewarming party. She was 25 then, all sharp edges and bright laughter, a woman who lit up every room she entered. She worked in real estate and had this talent for making even the most rundown properties sound like hidden gems. I was the opposite, reserved, methodical, the guy who double-checks the locks at night and balances the budget twice. But somehow, our differences clicked. She was fire, I was stone, and we built something in between. We married 3 years later. Our son, Evan, came along soon after. I thought fatherhood would terrify me, but the moment I held him, it was like everything else in life shifted into place. For years, I told myself this was the life I wanted. A wife with ambition, a son with innocence, a house that echoed with laughter. But here's the thing about stability, it hides cracks. You don't always see them forming until the weight is too heavy. At first, it was little things. Sophia started working later than usual, coming home with excuses about demanding clients. She guarded her phone like it was made of gold, turning it face down whenever I walked into the room. When I asked, she'd smile and say, "Daniel, you worry too much." It's just work. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But I couldn't shake the unease. Evan noticed too, in the way only kids do. Sometimes he'd ask why Mom didn't eat dinner with us anymore, or why she was always smiling at her phone. I brushed it off, told him she was busy. Maybe I was telling myself that more than him. Still, nothing could have prepared me for the night. Everything cracked open. We were sitting at the dinner table, just the three of us. It was supposed to be ordinary, chicken casserole, a few jokes about Evan's homework. Then, out of nowhere, my son put his fork down. He looked me straight in the eye and said, "Dad, Mom calls someone else baby on the phone." The room froze. Sophia's chair screeched as she shot upright, her voice sharp and panicked. "Evan, stop talking." My son flinched, but it was too late. The words were out. And they hit me harder than any punch I'd ever taken. I felt my hands shake, my chest burn, every suspicion I'd buried suddenly erupting to the surface. For months, I'd let myself ignore the signs, but not anymore. I stood up, my voice breaking the silence raw and thunderous. "Then let's hear the rest. Right now." Sophia's face twisted, her panic morphing into fury. "Daniel, sit down. He's just a kid. He doesn't know what he's saying." But Evan did know. His chin quivered, but he held my gaze. "I do, Mom. I heard you. You laughed, and then you said, 'Good night, baby. I'll see you tomorrow.'" The words detonated in my chest. My hands trembled as I pushed my chair back. All the months of denial, all the late nights and fake smiles, every scrap of suspicion I had buried, it all erupted at once. Sophia lunged toward him, her voice breaking into a shriek. "Stop it, Evan!" I moved faster, stepping between them, my arm outstretched. My body shook not from fear, but from the tidal wave of betrayal flooding through me. My own wife, lying, gaslighting, trying to silence our son because he told the truth. Sophia's breath came in ragged bursts. "You're twisting him against me," she spat. "You've been poisoning him with your paranoia." But Evan was crying now, his words tumbling out through sobs. "I didn't lie, Dad. I swear." She said it every night. She told someone else she loved them. My heart broke and hardened in the same moment. The mask was gone. The truth was out. And there was no going back. Sophia's hands were trembling, but her voice was sharp as a knife. "You're going to believe a child over your wife? He doesn't understand what he heard." Her words sliced through the air, but they didn't land. Not anymore. I stared at her, my chest heaving. "Don't you dare drag him into your lies. He's not making this up, Sophia. He's a kid. Kids don't invent details like that." She slammed her palm on the table so hard the plates rattled. You're insane, Daniel. Always suspicious, always looking for betrayal. Maybe if you were half the man I needed, I wouldn't have to. She cut herself short, biting her lip, but the damage was done. Wouldn't have to. The words hung between us like a live wire, sparking and deadly. Evan was sobbing now, clutching my sleeve, his small frame shaking. Dad, please don't fight. Please don't yell. His voice was a plea, but it only poured gasoline on the fire already raging inside me. Don't yell. I turned back to Sophia, my voice lowering into something dangerous, controlled. You tell another man you love him. You call him baby. And then you scream at our son when he dares to tell the truth. And I'm the one who's supposed to stay quiet? Her face crumbled for a split second, fear flickering in her eyes before the mask returned. You don't have proof. I almost laughed, hollow, bitter. Proof? You mean besides the fact that our son heard you? Besides the nights you worked late and came home smelling like cologne that wasn't mine? Besides the restaurant receipts you leave in your jacket pockets? Her lips parted, but no words came out. The silence pressed in, heavy, suffocating. Then she reached for the only weapon she had left. You're destroying this family, she whispered hoarsely. You're turning Evan against me. Evan's voice cracked through the room like lightning. You did that yourself, Mom. Sophia froze. Her mouth opened, closed, then opened again, but nothing came. The tears that welled in her eyes weren't guilt. They were rage at being cornered. I stepped closer, my voice steady now. You shattered this marriage, Sophia. Not me, not Evan. You, and in that moment I knew there was no fixing it. The woman I once loved was gone, replaced by someone willing to crush her own child to protect her secrets. The trust wasn't broken. It was obliterated. The night after the dinner table eruption was silent, suffocating. Sophia locked herself in the guest room while Evan fell asleep curled against me, still hiccuping from the tears. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, every muscle in my body humming with fury and disbelief. By morning, Sophia had moved from defense to offense. My phone lit up with calls from her sister first. Daniel, what the hell did you do? Sophia says you're yelling at Evan, forcing him to lie about her. Do you know how damaging that is to a child? I clenched my jaw. Tell her to stop hiding behind you and call me herself. But that was only the beginning. By noon, my mother-in-law was at our doorstep, banging the door with her tiny fists like she could break it down. Daniel, open up! How dare you accuse my daughter of this filth? She told me everything. She said you've been paranoid for years, checking her things, turning Evan against her. Her voice carried across the street. Curtains twitched, neighbors peeked. My private hell was being broadcast for the whole block. I opened the door just enough for her to see my face. She's lying, Mrs. Cortez. Ask Evan yourself. He heard her, but Sophia had already coached her mother. Children repeat what they're told, she snapped, eyes blazing with blind loyalty. And you're poisoning him. The venom in her voice made me want to slam the door, but I didn't. Instead, I handed her a small notebook, the one I'd been keeping for months. Dates, times, receipts, the evidence I'd tried to ignore. Read it, I said flatly. Then tell me who's poisoning who. She snatched it from me, muttering curses, and stormed off. By evening, Sophia's brother texted me. You're done, Daniel. No one believes you. Everyone knows you've been controlling her for years. It was a coordinated attack. She was gathering her army, rewriting history in real time, painting herself as the victim and me as the abuser. But here's the thing, lies don't stay neat. They unravel. That night, Evan overheard me on the phone with my sister explaining the chaos. He tugged on my sleeve and whispered, Dad, do I need to tell Grandma too? I don't want Mom to yell at me again, but I don't want them to think you're bad. I hugged him tight, my heart breaking. Not yet, buddy. Not yet. But one day they'll hear the truth from you, and they'll have no choice but to believe it. Because if Sophia wanted a war, then I was done holding back. And this time, I had more than suspicion on my side. I realized something crucial after that night. Rage wouldn't save me. Shouting, pleading, even exposing her in front of her family hadn't broken through Sophia's mask. If anything, she was doubling down, weaving a tighter net of lies. So I switched gears. Quiet, calculated, precise. The first step was Evan. I wasn't about to put him in the middle any more than he already was. But I couldn't ignore the fact that he'd become an unwilling witness. I explained it gently. Buddy, you don't have to say anything to Mom's family. That's not your job. But if you ever feel scared, if she says something that makes you uncomfortable, just tell me, okay? His eyes were wide, serious, older than they should have been for a boy his age. He nodded. I trust you, Dad. Those words cut me deeper than anything Sophia had screamed. I had to protect that trust. I bought a small voice recorder the next day, slipped it into my pocket, left it running when arguments flared, and they flared often. Why were you late again, Sophia? I asked one night, voice deliberately calm. Because unlike you, I have a life, she snapped, throwing her purse onto the couch. Stop acting like I'm chained to this house. I let the silence hang, let her fill it with more venom. You think you're so perfect. Guess what, Daniel? You're not enough for me. You've never been enough. Click, saved. Evidence. Next, I started documenting her finances. She was careless with her phone, leaving it on the counter while she showered. Screenshots of messages with numbers saved under innocent names, Carla from work. Ben PTA. Yet the tone wasn't professional. Miss you already, baby. Last night was perfect. I didn't confront her, not yet. Instead, I built a file. Emails, bank transfers, even her location history, which showed her spending entire afternoons nowhere near her office. The more I uncovered, the calmer I became. Not because it hurt less, it hurt more, but because pain was being replaced by purpose. And here's the irony. Sophia thought she was in control, that her narrative of me as the paranoid, controlling husband was working. She paraded her victimhood in front of her family, even hinted at it with neighbors. But behind the curtain, I was laying a trap so airtight she wouldn't wriggle out. One night, I caught Evan sitting on the stairs watching as Sophia screamed at me about how I never made her feel alive. He looked terrified, but when she stormed out, slamming the door, he whispered, "Did you record that one, Dad?" I smiled grimly. "Yes, son." I did. And I realized something in that moment. This wasn't just about saving myself. It was about giving Evan proof that his reality was real, that he wasn't crazy, that the shouting, the lies, the fear, it wasn't in his head. It was Sophia's world crumbling, and soon the world outside these walls would see it too. The courthouse smelled of old wood and cold coffee. My palms sweated against the folder I'd been carrying for weeks, the folder that held every screenshot, every recording, every late-night whisper I'd gathered. Sophia walked in first, chin lifted like she was gliding down a runway. She wore black, like a widow, as if I had somehow died and left her brokenhearted. Behind her, her mother clutched a tissue dramatically. Her brother leaned forward with a glare reserved for villains in bad movies. They were ready for theater. And for a while, they got it. Her lawyer stood, speaking with polished pity. Sophia has endured years of emotional neglect. She has been trapped in a marriage where Daniel's control extended even to who she could talk to. Her only crime is wanting freedom. The judge nodded politely. My stomach tightened. Then Sophia herself took the stand. She painted herself as the perfect wife, only to be undermined by a jealous husband. Her voice trembled on cue, tears glistening at just the right moments. I just want what's best for our son, she said, her eyes darting to Evan in the back row. Evan shrank into his seat, clutching my sister's hand. I almost broke then, almost shouted the truth across the courtroom. But I waited. Because the truth doesn't need volume. It needs timing. When it was my turn, I rose slowly. The weight of the folder grounded me. My lawyer asked simple questions first, about my job, about my daily routine, about my relationship with Evan. Calm, factual. Then came the moment. Mr. Turner, my lawyer said, did you ever record any of your wife's statements during these alleged arguments? Yes, I replied. My voice didn't shake. We played the first recording. Sophia's voice filled the room. You've never been enough for me. You'll never be enough, gasps rippled through the benches. Sophia froze. The color drained from her face. Next came screenshots, messages from Carla from work. Miss you already, baby. Last night was perfect. Her lawyer objected. The judge overruled. Evidence stood. Each page I handed over was another nail in the coffin of her performance. Photos of unexplained withdrawals from our joint account, location data showing her in places she swore she'd never been. Finally, a recording from the night Evan stepped between us. You could hear his small voice, trembling but fierce. Stop hurting my dad. The courtroom went silent. Even the judge leaned forward, brows knitting. Sophia's mother sobbed, but this time it wasn't sympathy, it was shame. Her brother looked away. Sophia's mask cracked. She stammered, tried to explain, but the words tangled in her throat. The judge cleared his throat. I've heard enough. Temporary custody will remain with Mr. Turner until further evaluation. Mrs. Turner's credibility is in serious question. The gavel fell like thunder. For the first time in months, I felt air fill my lungs without the weight of dread. But as I looked across the courtroom, Sophia's eyes locked onto mine. They weren't defeated. They were burning. This wasn't over, not to her. And in that fiery, venomous stare, I knew the next battle would leave the courtroom and spill into the world outside. I thought the gavel had closed the chapter. I thought foolishly that truth alone would keep Sophia at bay. But a week later, my phone buzzed at 6 a.m. with a notification from a coworker. Hey man, saw your name trending on Facebook. You okay? My stomach dropped. Sophia had launched a campaign. A long, teary post accompanied by a photo of her clutching Evan in an old picture, captioned, 3 years of silent abuse. He took my child. He painted me as a monster. All I ever wanted was love. Within hours, it had hundreds of shares. Friends of her family chimed in, stay strong. He doesn't deserve you. Some even tagged me directly, calling me a coward, a narcissist, a thief of children. She was rebuilding her mask, this time not for a judge, but for the world. At first I panicked. Then I remembered the file. The evidence wasn't just for court, it was my shield in the public square. But I didn't release it. Not yet. Because the truth sometimes reveals itself without your hand. It happened 2 weeks later. Sophia had started posting videos on TikTok, grainy clips of her crying, telling her story. One went semi-viral. My husband stole my child. If you hear a child's cry at night, it's because of men like him. It might have worked. Until Evan walked into the room while she was recording. Mom, why are you lying? His voice was small but clear. Dad didn't hurt you. You hurt him. You hurt me too. The phone was still recording. Her eyes widened. She lunged to shut it off, but not before millions saw. The clip spread faster than her original post. Within 48 hours, #StopLyingMom was trending. People dissected every frame, every word. They weren't buying her tears anymore, they were listening to Evan. The clip spread faster than wildfire. By the next morning, #StopLyingMom had climbed higher than her original #JusticeForMoms tag. Comment sections that once cheered her flipped like a tide. So, this is the truth? How dare she weaponize her child? Protect that little boy. Within days, Sophia's accounts were drowning in backlash. Sponsors she'd courted for single mom empowerment campaigns pulled out. Even her closest friends quietly unfollowed, their silence louder than any words. Her sister Lauren, once her fiercest defender, stopped calling altogether. The public tide had turned. And then came the live stream. Rachel went on camera to clear her name. But midway through, Evan's voice clip began circulating on Twitter again. Mom, stop lying. You're hurting Dad. No amount of tears, theatrics, or hashtags could drown it out. By the next morning, the story was everywhere. News outlets replayed the clip. Talk shows dissected every word. For the first time, the world wasn't seeing Sophia's performance. They were seeing her mask fall apart. And Evan, my son, was the one who had pulled it off. I didn't celebrate. I didn't post a single thing. I didn't need to. Because the truth was no longer mine. It belonged to everyone who had seen it. Sophia's empire of sympathy crumbled overnight. Her GoFundMe donations dried up. Her TikTok lives went from thousands of viewers to a handful of hecklers. Her own brother, once glaring at me across the courtroom, posted quietly, "We didn't know the whole truth. That boy is braver than all of us." Then he deleted his account. I looked at Evan, walking a little taller, his smile freer, the shadows lifting from his eyes. He wasn't just the boy caught in the crossfire anymore. He was the voice that ended the war. Sophia tried one last move, threatening legal action for defamation against anyone who reposted Evan's video. It failed. She had no case left, no mask to wear. The truth wasn't mine anymore. It belonged to everyone who had seen it. That night, as Evan curled up beside me on the couch, he whispered, "Dad, is it really over?" I kissed the top of his head. "Yes, son. It's over." And for the first time, I wasn't lying to either of us.